What happens when one of your closest collaborators, one of the most important musicians in the history of music, dies suddenly? And what if you've spent the last 40 years thinking you could have prevented his death? That's pretty much the story for producer Jack Douglas, who spent all those hours with John Lennon and Yoko Ono near the end of his life. And here we are, the anniversary of that tragic night. Jack Douglas had already helped shape the music of legendary albums by Aerosmith, Cheap Trick, Patti Smith, but he said working with John Lennon was personal. It was family. On December 8th, 1980, John Lennon and Yoko Ono were at the record plant in New York City, putting finishing touches on Walking on Thin Ice. Douglas was there producing the session, riding the high of release of Double Fantasy, a comeback album that reignited Lennon's voice after a 5-year silence. When the session was over, Lennon grabbed his things and said goodbye. There was nothing unusual, no sense of danger, of course. But it was this time that Douglas didn't walk John to the car. He always did. In this case, Jack Douglas had another session. Tight schedule. And of course, later that night, John Lennon was killed in front of his apartment building, the Dakota Building, by a deranged fan. Appearing on the Magnificent Others podcast with Billy Corgan, Douglas opened up about how the trauma dragged him into a spiral that nearly destroyed his life. He said, "I didn't want to go out of the house. It was terrible. And I felt this terrible guilt because very often I went home with him. And I didn't because I had another session." And he says, "So I played it over and over in my head." Jack Douglas became obsessed that if he was there, he could have changed the outcome. He says, "I would have been in the car. I would have seen the guy. I would have tackled him. John would be alive." So that's what he says played over and over in his head. And then, of course, the media arrived. Phones rang, letters, reporters wanting access to his grief. So he just froze. His whole world shrank into a single room. This man was broken. Douglas says he was out of control and his career shrank with it. Eventually, he checked himself into rehab and it saved his life. Now he's been sober for 30 years. He's found some peace, he says, but that loss never disappeared. And he says John Lennon still visits him, adding, "Lennon comes to me often in my dreams. It could be in different places, could be the studio. He talks to me. He liked to talk to me. He liked to tell me that I didn't know anything. He'd say, 'For a bright guy, Jack, you don't know anything.' It's been more than 4 decades since we lost John Lennon. You remember the night. I remember the night. Everyone was watching football. The phone at my house just rang like it probably did for you. The dream died too. I remember feeling selfish, thinking, oh, they'll never get together again. That's it. But overall, it was that feeling of disbelief of not really, he can't be dead." But for Jack Douglas, this whole conversation continues. And I guess it does for all of us. He says for him, it's sort of a quiet dream where John Lennon is still with us, still joking, still writing, still singing. And maybe for him and for us, that's where the healing kind of starts. That is a wound that I don't think will ever go away for the world. Your thoughts, December 8th, 1980. I was 20 years old, ready to be 21. I hadn't even gotten into radio yet, but man, music was my life, and the Beatles certainly were as well. Leave your thoughts. Make sure you comment on our video, subscribe to our channel, and share our videos. I'm John Bowden. This is Rock History Music. Take good care.